burners, juice cleanses, carnivore, keto. If you've spent any time trying to lose fat, you've probably tried at least one or maybe all of these. And you might be wondering, well, why didn't they stick? So today I'm going to rank the most common fat loss strategies, the ones that are a complete waste of not only your time and your money, but also your energy, to the ones that genuinely are non negotiables that actually work and actually move the needle long term. The ones that only work, but under certain conditions, and you need to figure out where you are in that. First off is my tier one, and these are my worst offenders. And these are the ones that literally just take your money and run away from you, okay? Let's start with fat burners, because if I'm being perfectly honest with you, I didn't know these even still existed. I thought that this was just like something of the 90s. But I was in the grocery store the other day, and lo and behold, there were a couple on the shelf. So I guess they still do exist and are still very much trying to take your money. I beg you, please don't waste your money on these. They are beyond unnecessary. The way most of them work mostly just spike your heart rate and your cortisol, which in the short term may act as like an appetite suppressant. But ultimately, at the end of the day, most of them do more harm than they actually do good. And sometimes they can actually even be dangerous. I'm not saying, the ones on the market necessarily are now. I think they did a recall on some of them that were doing more harm than good. But I never actually bought a fat burner because most of the side effects around them just kind of terrify me. And so I didn't do that because I'm scared and I'm a wuss. But I've certainly been tempted because the advertising on them does a really, really super job of trying to make it seem like they can do something to make your life easier. But unfortunately, that is, in fact, not true. All right, now juice cleanses, because the amount of crap that I see people making about juice cleanses or juice fasts or detoxes and trying to sell them to you to get you to be healthy, your body does not need a detox. That's what your liver is for, okay? If you're trying to lose fat, you need a calorie deficit. And yes, you can get there in a juice cleanse, sure. But you'll mostly just starve yourself to death in the meantime before you ever get there. The real reason that they're working is because you are in a deficit, and an extreme one at that. But you're also tanking your protein, you're also tanking your fiber and your energy levels. Have you ever done a juice cleanse? You're exhausted. The moment you act eating any sort of real food, your body's completely depleted. So it's like, give me all the food, right? That is the rebound rate. It's not a willpower failure. It's your biology doing exactly what your body is supposed to do because you starved it. And so now it wants its food back. Let's talk about extreme diets for a second. And I'm probably going to make some people mad here because I'm putting things in this camp like carnivore or keto or really anything that forces you to cut out an entire food group. If it works for you, fine. If you won't miss it, fine. But if you're cutting out a food group and then planning to put it back later, then the diet isn't for you because you'll gain all that weight back and probably then some that you work so hard to lose. The reason these work temporarily is pretty simple. You're removing an entire food group, which makes it easier to eat less without tracking. And that's really it. That is the magic. But if you can't eat that way for the next 40 years, then you haven't really found a solution for your problem. You've really just found a delay. And if you've done keto, lost 15 pounds, put 20 back on, and then decided something was wrong with you, nothing was wrong with you. The exit strategy was never built in. You were set up to fail from the very beginning. Now, also on this list is spot reduction exercises. And honestly, I debated on this one, but I feel like it deserves a mention because there are still people out there advertising it and trying to sell it to people like it's a thing, which really makes me mad, whatever. But doing certain exercises cannot, and I repeat, cannot spot reduce fat. How? I wish that it could, though. I really do. But I see this a lot with like certain workouts or like target your upper body fat, target your upper body, whatever. Your body decides where it pulls fat from based on your genetics and from your hormones, not which muscle group you're working on. So women over 30 especially deal with this because of where their estrogen shifts fat storage. No amount of crunches is going to negotiate with your hormones. So an overall deficit is the only way that moves the needle in this regard. And I can honestly say that to you as someone who has lost over 40 pounds and naturally over 30. I've definitely tried like half the stuff on this list. So now we're on to tier two, which is good, but it's only for optimization purposes. Now, here's why I want you to be really careful because this next group is actually where a lot of us smart research for women get really stuck. These aren't scams. They're just you're reaching for the fine tuning tools before you've built the machine. And I say that with full love because I absolutely have done this too. So, supplements. The supplements that are advertised to you are not going to do what you want them to do. Most supplements are the 0.1%, right? They're the optimizing around the edges, but they are not going to take you from zero to anything substantial. These are great though. Once you've got the stuff at the top of the pyramid, but until you get there, It's really just putting your energy into something that's not going to really move the needle all that much. Next is training and meal timing. This is another tip I see floating around. I've actually done an experiment myself on training and meal timing, and it's great and it could be helpful. But as I've said, if you haven't nailed what I consider to be the basics, then you don't really need to worry about this yet. This is a conversation to revisit once you've actually built a foundation, and then you can go back and what I would call optimize. And here's another one, gut support. Now, this is something I see targeted a lot, the fix your gut to lose weight messaging. And honestly, I see most of that as marketing. I'll be perfectly honest with you. And also, when you get the basics right, I feel like your gut kind of does a lot of the natural improvement anyway, because I definitely notice a shift for me when I eat healthy whole foods that my gut is fine. It's when I go off the rails that I have issues. And then yoga and Pilates. Don't hate me. Don't throw rocks or anything. I absolutely love yoga and Pilates. They're great for you, especially from a mobility and flexibility standpoint. But it is not ideal as an exercise for fat loss from an exercise perspective. Now, I am not throwing shade at Pilates. If Pilates is your thing and it keeps you consistent and sane, that matters too. But if you're only doing Pilates because you want to build a Pilates body or because building muscle with weights feels too intimidating, then that's worth an honest conversation with yourself, okay? Movement you do will always beat movement you won't, but not all movement is designed to do the same job. Now, tier 3, these are the non negotiables. Here's where we get into the stuff that actually moves the needle. These are my non negotiables. Now, this might feel like a long list, but you don't have to do all the things at one time. You can pick one and add two, but start here first. Adequate protein. Eating adequate protein for your body size to build muscle and maintain your muscle mass is really important, and it's going to help you to stay full longer. A rough guide that I have is what we call in our house the 10-100 rule, which just means 10 grams of protein per 100 calories. That tells you if something is actually high protein, and I try to get that 8 to 10 if I'm searching for high protein, not these high protein Pop Tarts I saw in the store the other day that are like 350 calories with like 8 grams of protein. That's not high protein. That's just marketing because the marketing industry has figured out that we're all looking for protein. So they're like, hey, these have protein, these have protein. So if you're eating healthy and still not losing, the first thing I'd look at is your protein because most women are chronically under eating in protein and they don't even know it because they're not doing something wrong. They're doing something that everybody tells them to do, just not in the correct way. Now, short but sweet is hydration. You don't need an electrolyte necessarily. Some people do, some people don't. Not everybody needs an electrolyte, but you do need to be drinking enough water. You want to think about how about half your body weight in ounces of water per day if you can. Stress management. Finding ways to manage your stress is an absolute key and underrated key to fat loss because your body holds on to fat for survival when you're stressed out. And this was one that I definitely struggle with for a long time. And I think it's a missing piece for a lot of women. I used to go low key, even as a therapist, I would go low key on my stress management. I wasn't managing my anxiety particularly well and things like that. But there have been a few seasons where I trained consistently and all the things. But because my stress management wasn't well and I was in anxiety spirals, I was not really losing fat. I was just sort of like sitting where it was. And that's not woo woo. That's not therapy talk. That's your body's natural response. Eating whole foods, fruits, veggies, turkey, chicken. Less processed is better. Now, I'm not saying you need to eliminate processed foods, but they certainly should take a lower priority on the list if at all possible. The more protein and whole foods you can get on your plate, the more full you'll stay, the better your gut. All those things we talked about in the lower tiers of the list. Adequate sleep. In a perfect world, 7 to 9 hours. Now, I know for some of you in certain seasons of life, like myself as a parent, that can be harder than others. But it is important to do the best you can with the time that you do have. I'm looking at you, you sweet little doom scrollers at bedtime. I know it's your only piece. I understand. But we got to take care of our body. We got to find a balance, okay? Maybe not all the time, but we got to find balance. Strength training. Now, this isn't mandatory per se, but it does make fat loss significantly easier because as you build muscle, it increases your overall BMR or your basal metabolic rate, which means your body needs more calories to function without adding additional movement. The movement component is actually a very small portion of your total calorie burn in a day. So, like 90% is just your BMR, and then the other 10%, I used to track that as like calories I got back, which was way too much because those calorie estimators always overestimate how many calories you burn in a workout. So it's not about adding those calories back. Strength training is worth it because it helps you build the muscle and improves your BMR. And that's the real payoff. Again, don't add them back to your budget. Don't do it. Don't do it. Now, the most important piece, okay? The thing that everything else on this list either supports or makes easier, you must actually be in a calorie deficit. And I know you're going to say to me, but I'm in a calorie deficit. But the only way to know for sure is if you actually truly track everything that goes in your body. And I mean the creamers, the sodas, the oils as accurately as possible. If you're not losing weight, there's a very, very strong chance that you are not in any sort of calorie deficit. I know there are a few exceptions to this, but generally speaking, and I know a calorie deficit sounds like the most boring answer in the entire world, but the reason it works is because it's the only thing that actually physiologically required for fat loss. Everything else on this list either supports the deficit or makes the deficit easier to maintain, but none of it replaces it. And I want to say something directly to the person that feels like they've tried everything and nothing works. There's a very high chance that you're eating more than you think you are. Not because you're lying to yourself, because tracking can be hard. Portions can be deceptive if you've never learned how. And almost nobody counts the creamers or the small bites of your kid's snack. People on average underestimate their calorie intake by up to 50%, according to research studies. And that can add up super fast. And I know because I was that person and I lost over 40 pounds naturally over 30. And it was the shift that happened from going from not tracking to tracking and eliminating the guesswork and actually seeing what the numbers look like. It wasn't fun at first, but it was honest and it does get better and easier over time. So if this video gave you some clarity on what's actually worth your energy, then make sure you share it with someone who also needs to hear it. And if you want to go deeper on any of this, I have a video here designed for weight loss for summer, which is right around the corner. So I'm going to link that here because I didn't make a new video this year. This is last year's video, but it's exactly the same stuff I tell you today. And then I'm also going to link a workout video here in case you'd like to find the best workouts on YouTube. And I will catch you in the next one. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Bye, friends.